Howdy everybody, we're back with some more RPG horror stories. Let's jump right into it. Our first story today is going to be by user Candid Emphasis 1048 on Reddit and is titled Problems Around a New Campaign. So I have dabbled in D&D for a few years now, and I've played quite a few homebrew as well as one-shots in my time. Gotten to really enjoy the game itself. Met many different DMs too, who enjoyed creative problem solving and solutions to encounters, and I've had a few opportunities to roleplay different classes as well. I'm part of a semi-big Discord server that has a great deal of different things people discuss, and this one user often would come in and discuss their issues regarding D&D. They were a DM who largely focused on online sessions, and they would often vent about finding problematic players who they dealt with. Me and quite a few of the other players who play D&D would express sympathy towards this user. Over time, they started sharing their world and their art as well as their vision for the world. It all sounded truly intriguing and got quite a bit of engagement. This user eventually said they had a server of their own, who were interested could join, and so a few of us did. There were some lead up to the date we get to play, and so we were all prompted to create classes and create our characters. I eventually settled on an amnesiac warlock, whereas many of the other players settled on backstories the DM then chose to say weren't what matched their vision, and they'd rewrite the details to fit the narrative they were envisioning. So they said they'd communicate to each other in private, but I was largely left to my own devices. Did they say create classes, like full-on classes or subclasses, or was this like a typo? If so, that's really wild that they're allowed to go that in-depth on a character. I don't know if I'd allow a full custom class for a first-time campaign with someone. I also hope this isn't a situation where the DM happens to be running into problematic players all the time. There's a saying from Justified that I really like. You run into an asshole in the morning, you ran into an asshole. You run into assholes all day, you're the asshole. Now, all backstories usually need some tweaking to fit into the world, but hopefully these rewrites weren't too much or the players weren't too annoyed with the change of details that was occurring. First session starts and I wake in the wilderness. I do my thing and the story goes to other characters, where they all have their own story and how they tie into the story. It becomes pretty evident the DM has given everyone a fairly traumatic start, except for one player we had amongst us, and yet their story was still very much sexually charged. Not too much, and it seemed to have been discussed in private. The story reaches a point where everyone meets up and heads to the first town. Wait, so was everybody's start traumatic, and was it sexual? Was everybody having like sexually traumatic starting stories? That's a little worrisome. Was this approved by everybody? You have to be really careful when broaching topics like this, especially with a new table of players. You really need to sit down and be like, what are we okay with? What are we not? Because if you're forcing everybody to get sexually assaulted in the first session, that's not a campaign I would run. Once there, everybody seemed very standoffish, and so my character, being an amnesiac, would engage with them. But I fairly quickly noticed the absolute authoritarian nature the DM would run their characters in. No asking questions, no questioning the characters, and threats of violence would be made by said characters. I, on my own exploration, discovered the brutal nature of this world and managed to find a creature to pact myself to. Wolves serve as magical guards in this realm, and so I sealed a pact with the wolf. We progressed the story, and I managed to have some fun interactions with some of the minor side characters, and the session ended where we'd meet the king. Before the next session even came up, a post was made about how none of us were allowed to be rude towards the king or his consort, or we'd been met with harsh punishment. By having witnessed the brutal nature of this regime, how slavery was prevalent amongst female elves, men were slaughtered left and right, and the world itself seemed under tyrannical rule, I reasoned that wouldn't be in character for my character to just overlook. Okay, it seems a bit odd the characters weren't allowed to question the world a little bit. Perhaps the DM should then exposition dump a bit more if these are denizens of the world. It is cool that you can pact yourself to animals, which seems like OP was able to for their warlock and that they were planning to play. It isn't a bad idea, just in general, when you're meeting somebody very powerful, especially for new players, for the DM to lay out that people treating royalty poorly would result in consequences. This can help tip your players off to not pull any shenanigans off. Because sometimes players like to do shit like try to murder the king when they are low level, and I get it, the king's a dick, but actions do have consequences. Depending on how the post was worded though, it's not a horrible thing to pre-warn your players about. I'm really curious how the interaction is going to go if OP's character can't overlook this issue and the other issues that are very prevalent in this world, and how this DM is going to respond given their very per OP authoritarian in their way they run things, I would argue it's kind of railroady if they're not letting you question the world and kind of interact with it and kind of get a feel for everything. To me, that's kind of railroady. So we started the session and some new players had joined, 2 brothers. Both their characters also experienced somewhat brutal backstories of the ask no questions conform to my narrative variety. Whereas me and my companions were met by the cane, I simply expressed staring at the cane in an unfavorable manner when the DM said my pacted wolf gets dragged in chains towards me and has a magical brand placed upon its skin. The cane then behaves quite disrespectfully, and the moment I try and speak up about it, my character is wrapped in magical bindings and electrocuted. The session goes on like this, where we go about our business and we are tasked with finding a monster hidden in a chapel. We find it, and our fighter charges in without a second thought and engages in combat. We defeat the thing, but it revives and initiates dialogue. Everyone who tries to, quote, speak out of turn takes near on 20 damage, myself included. The fighter decides to shield bash the monster mid-dialogue, and the DM allows it to happen and we kill it. Okay, so we are bringing in some players a bit late, but it seems like this is about second session, so it's not too long to wait to bring them in. I'm curious what OP means by brutal backstories of the no-ask questions conform to my narrative variety. Do they mean the DM rewrote the story and the players were not allowed to question why this was happening? I understand if changes need to be made to make somebody's backstory fit, but the DM should be actively working with the player to make sure those changes are acceptable for both parties. Backstory changes can turn a character from something someone is super excited and down to play to something they have no freaking clue what it is anymore because it's so different than what they started with. Now, if the DM forced some sort of backstory with sexual violence, which maybe that was only for one person, I just know it got brought up that there was some weird sexual violence of some sort brought up for at least one of the players' backstories, and just the reference that everybody's backstory otherwise was traumatic in some way, not really going into detail how, or what have you, and this wasn't agreed on. To be honest, it's kind of fucked if the DM's forcing either the sexual aggression on everybody, or if they are rewriting the backstories and not getting consent, agreement, whatever. Again, that is also fucked. The actions occurring during the meeting with the king might be to set the tone for this world and it being very grim, but this is going to make your PCs want to kill the king as soon as possible if he's acting like an asshole to them. That and some of the repercussions that are occurring seem to almost be to the point where the player doesn't have any agency over their character. Removing too much agency can cause an issue at the table, as it sucks to be in that situation. It's one thing to have fucked around and found out. It's another to have just met the king and the king just decides because you're not looking at him appropriately that he's just going to brand your wolf for shits and giggles. The taking damage for speaking out of turn. This DM is trying to keep a handle on the table, but they're going about it the wrong way. If you have problems with your players talking out of turn, just talk to them about it. Let them know that they need to wait a second, that another person is getting a chance to speak or RP. Damaging people for speaking out of turn is the absolute wrong way to control your table. This will cause your players to not want to RP for fear of repercussions occurring. A few hours after the session, myself and another player received personal messages from the DM effectively warning us that we have been viewed as problematic players, that we haven't strived for teamwork, and have been deemed standoffish because we chose to question the king and tried to take agency in our own stories. The DM in closing said this was privately addressed because it was a sensitive matter. However, I didn't immediately respond, and neither did the other player. A while later on the server itself, there was now a rules tab added that describes to a T what we were doing and how it took away narrative agency from the DM and how certain characters should conform to the story. I enjoy D&D, but the whole interaction has left a stale taste in my mouth. To the DM's message, I simply responded that the message was received and will be taken into account. It feels to me this person wishes to craft a world where players serve as opinionated NPCs, faced with a world wherein the DM wishes to self-insert themselves with an absolute authority that cannot be questioned and has publicly posed themselves on a moral high ground. Okay, wanting to interact with the world and trying to have agency in your PC story is not being problematic. It almost seems like this DM wants to write a story, which is fine, but go write a book. Now, if OP was talking over people and being rude, sure, they are being problematic. But that doesn't seem to really be the case, and if it was, the DM just needs to tell OP to hold on for a second and that another player is having their turn to roleplay or speak. Or, hey, I'm the DM, give me a second, let me describe the scene, or give me a second, let this king finish his sentence. Something like that. Just talk stuff like this out. You don't need to deliver 20 damage for speaking out of turn. Personally, I would leave this table. It's not a collaborative environment, and it will only cause more annoyance. Leave now while you aren't fully invested in the fate of your PC. Alrighty, our last story today is from user OverEnvironment821 and is titled, Am I Overreacting at Player Wanting My Character Pregnant? Recently, a new player joined our group of 2 years. Not an actual name, but let's call him Jack. He's a friend of the DM's who is my boyfriend and is one of the first times playing D&D. We have been playing for a couple months and so far, most of the things have been fine. I should mention that this is a college D&D group and Jack is a senior, so he knows he'll be leaving in a few weeks. Because of that, he's been talking with the DM about plans for the future of his character. I should also mention that as one of our players just left, I am the only woman at the table. A couple weeks ago, Jack pulled me aside saying he would want to talk to me. He said that after his character died, he was wondering if my character could be tasked with the responsibility of, quote, finding or creating a new body for his character. At first, I thought it was cool, the idea of possibly finding a corpse or giving a body a second chance. Dang, they're gonna kill off this person's PC the second they leave the table, not let them ride off into the sunset or something like that. I kind of think it ruins the tension a bit if it's already known that Jack's character is gonna die, but whatever the player and the DM agree on, I guess, as long as they're both happy with it. When I mentioned this, he stopped me and specified that he would want this creature to be a child. I was confused. He then said he would like it if his soul could go into that of my character, so that she would be pregnant with the reincarnation of him. Excuse me? That's certainly a fucking request you can make. The DM was okay with this idea. The finding a corpse or a new body or something, that sounds like an interesting plotline. But impregnating another PC sounds like we're forcing some strange kink potentially onto another player. I would not be comfortable with allowing this at my table. I would not have agreed to this at all. I was shocked. He saw this and specified that the father of the child would still be my PC's love interest, but he thought it would be, quote, cool to have an angel born of 2 devils. My PC and her love interest happened to be tieflings. I just kind of stared at him and said no, and then left it at that. Jack said he had cleared it up with the DM before the session, but when I talked to my boyfriend, he said he had no idea that's what he meant. Like me, he thought that it would be tasking with creating a grown body or finding a corpse. Okay, I'm glad the DM didn't okay that. It would have been one thing to ask OP to have their character name a future child, after post-credit scene, after their dying character, so that their name lives on or something like that. But to do some weird rebirth via getting another PC pregnant just sounds really fucking off to me. Especially if getting pregnant wasn't a topic really broached at the table, which I, to be honest, would not expect it to be. Just thinking in general here, let's say we allow this. Would a pregnant adventurer still adventure? After a certain point, I feel like you're sunsetting this character because of that. To be honest, this sounds like we could be potentially kneecapping OP's ability to then continue with their character. This past week, I've been so uncomfortable. I talked to my boyfriend a bit about my frustration, and we both agreed that it wasn't out of a place of malevolence from Jack. He didn't mean it as a bad thing, but as a woman, it made me so uncomfortable, especially because had it been a male character playing a female PC, Jack probably wouldn't have asked them to do this. Okay, I don't think we have enough to necessarily form the opinion here that Jack wouldn't ask a male playing a female PC to do that. But I also don't know Jack, pun intended there. That being said, broaching stuff like pregnancy or whatever should be discussed beforehand. I know pregnancy is a natural thing, but someone might not want to broach the realm of things potentially becoming sexual in that manner. It's one thing to have a love interest. It's another thing to brush against the topic of sex occurring by making someone's PC become pregnant, or an NPC become pregnant. Part of this seems weird because Jack is forcing OP's character to be sexually intimate with someone in order to get them pregnant. They're also potentially forcing a life-altering decision on this character in this way as well. Again, if you're going to broach the topic of players getting pregnant, I'd talk about it beforehand. While potentially innocent, the implication of a character getting pregnant can potentially brush on topics that players are not comfortable with. For those who aren't getting what I'm putting down here, if a player or an NPC even can get pregnant, we now have an issue where a player might need to specify that they are using, quote, protection in order to avoid pregnancy when they just wanted to say, play a horny bard that fades to black when they pick somebody up at the tavern, not going any more in depth on their character's, quote, nighttime activities. On the other hand, if becoming pregnant is a possibility, some players might be concerned that they could have that forced on them. So now we have the potential to have to grapple with the topics of like sexual assault. If we're broaching pregnancy, then do we have our players be concerned about STDs as well? Now, I know I'm kind of getting into a bit of a slippery slope fallacy here a bit, but to me, it is within the realm of possibility that these types of feelings could occur to a player if we don't properly discuss the topic. Their mind wanders, there are concerns that come up, or if we're going to go there, well, we might as well go a little bit further, kind of something like that. Yesterday, we had the next session, and I never realized how mad I was until we were playing again. I was painfully aware that I was the only girl in the group. Even with the other 2 male players at the table, I felt a bit isolated from them, despite having played with them for a couple of years now. Every campaign I've been in, I've had something like this happen. When I was 13, another PC attacked my character because she wouldn't pretend to date him. Another PC once watched my character while he slept to, quote, keep an eye on him. This was the first campaign I played where I felt completely comfortable around the other guys at the table, but now I don't. I probably would have left the campaign, to be honest, but this is my boyfriend's world and he put so much work into it. I talked to him about it yesterday and he said he was so sorry I felt this way. He immediately offered to kick Jack from the table, saying if Jack was mad, then that was his problem. He also offered to invite a mutual friend of ours who is a girl to play instead. I want to take him up on both offers, but I feel like I'm overreacting a bit. I want the opinion of other people. Am I holding too much of a grudge? It was only one incident, but when I see Jack, I just get so mad because I feel so isolated. I've never felt fully accepted in a lot of nerd circles because I'm a woman, but maybe I just need to get over it. What do I do? Okay, OP needs to realize that their feelings are valid. I am not a woman, so I won't understand the experiences of women in the gaming community to the extent that they do. I know from experience that some men in particular tend to be sexist or not know how to act when there are women in their game. Part of this experience that I've had just adjacent to this mainly stems from outside of tabletop. Anyone that has ever been in a gaming lobby online and run into like women on there likely knows what I'm talking about. A girl has the audacity to speak up, and some shitbag in the server has to tell her to either go back in the kitchen or that she sucks even prior to seeing her play, or they freak out saying, "Oh my god, are you a girl?" and proceed to act fucking weird all game. I can understand complaining about a random on your team to your friends, but keep that to your friends and just don't flame people in the lobby chat, and don't automatically make the assumption that just because a girl jumps in, they're gonna suck. Also, freaking out that someone is a girl and then trying to hit on them or whatever. I'm gonna be honest, dude, no woman has ever heard some pipsqueak's voice crack screaming, "Are you a girl?" and think, "Ah, yes, I want some of that." I don't know if I would be to the point of saying you should kick Jack. Like, did Jack speak out of line? Yes, they absolutely did. I would sit down, I would talk with Jack. Tell them how what they asked made you feel. Keep it calm and cool when talking, because there is a chance Jack is just an idiot and didn't think it would be taken so horribly. Give Jack a chance to apologize for being an idiot. I understand that what he did made you feel wrong and brought up past negative experiences you have had, but give them a chance to make amends, especially when this was their very first fuck up. If inviting another girl would make you feel more comfortable, definitely do it. Especially because if Jack is leaving soon, you will have an empty spot that needs to be filled. On top of that, you had somebody else there prior. So you probably also guys are down a player as it is. Again, I will never fully understand the hurdles that women have to go through with not fitting into nerd circles. I think it is an issue they deal with because some nerd circles are filled with younger men that just have not wised up to not being a shithead, or are filled with very socially anxious men that don't know how to act when a member of the sex they're attracted to happens to be present. That does not excuse their behavior in either way. But it does not hurt to give someone the benefit of the doubt and talk out the issue that you are having. If they seem legitimately remorseful and apologize, you've helped someone curb a potentially problematic behavior. Not that you should have to mother them or baby them. But everybody makes mistakes, and sometimes someone bringing up a problem to them gets them to fix it and realize that they're being a fucking idiot. Doing this will allow you a place to continue to participate in nerd circles that you are calling your own. You are making it your own by standing up for yourself, instead of retreating away from it and then having to try to find a new place that you can exist in. Don't be afraid to have those conversations. Yes, people are going to be stupid. Yes, men are going to be dumb, sexist pieces of crap because they're fucking 15 years old and they think they're edgy. Fuck if I know why. Edit, I just realized I forgot to add a very important detail. Made this post in a rush and didn't think it would get this much attention this quickly. The DM talked to Jack rightly near after it happened, and Jack apologized to me. Last night he voluntarily offered to leave, and I didn't respond to him in Discord, so he did. This is one of the reasons I'm so conflicted that I'm overreacting. He does feel sorry about it, but I'm still just so uncomfortable at the table now. Okay, well, I guess this has sorted itself out. I can't be the one to judge if OP is overreacting, though. I would always urge to try to talk it out and work it out first before kicking somebody, but I am not OP. There is a chance that this situation here is just the last straw for them to deal with it. And they're just tired of people treating them differently because they're a woman. And if they feel that way, those feelings are absolutely valid. And there's only so much you can do about that other than, I'm not gonna say get over it, but maybe process those feelings and realize, part of that might be realizing that you've had some crappy experiences in the past, but not everybody's gonna treat you this way. And that takes time. That's not easy to do. Update. Hey everyone, thank you so much for all the comments and advice. While many comments said to kick Jack, many of the answers varied, and I appreciated all of them. I haven't been able to read them all, but I hope to go through them now as I have a break in class or just later when I'm free. Okay, so now for what happened. Jack left voluntarily after making this post. I talked to my boyfriend / the DM, and he said he would kick Jack out. I told him about my hesitance as I was unsure if I was overreacting, but he offered some great insight. He said that it was his job to prioritize the players who had been there for the past couple years and that Jack was going to leave anyway. Above all, he wanted to make sure that I and other players who were staying past next year are comfortable. Definitely understand that line of thinking. That thinks of the guaranteed future of the table, as Jack really has an expiration date and they're definitely one of the newer people at the table here. I assume part of Jack leaving was them reaching out though and getting no response, so they clearly knew that they fucked up big time and just opted to get the fuck out of there. Again, I would always recommend talking it out. There is always a chance it was a miscommunication or someone didn't realize that they were crossing a line, and it would be a shame to throw someone out over a misunderstanding. Big caveat to this though, every situation is different. Everybody views things differently. Everybody has a chance that they've hit a point where they're just fucking done with it and they're like, I can't. And that's okay to not have the mental energy to deal with that bullshit. He went to talk to Jack, but before he could say anything, Jack announced he was leaving the party. I'm still not sure about the exact details of the conversation, but at least it made it easier for the DM. Here is where things get a bit messier though. The evening of the day I posted this, the other girl who had not been coming to sessions said she was leaving the party. She said that she felt that we, as other players, simply didn't know her. She also felt that the way our characters handled other party members' deaths was, quote, unsettling. Okay, I'm gonna hope there was a session 0 for this new person so that they knew the playstyle was for the group and what the do's and don'ts of the game were gonna be. For context, the 3 original characters that have been there all processed death differently. Her last character was revealed to be a traitor to the party, so we killed her. This led to different reactions from the party. Okay, this could potentially be a little mini horror story in the making here. This sounds like PvP. And if that topic was not broached and okayed by everybody, it can cause some feelings for those who are on the losing end of the PvP. 2 out of 3 of us play characters who are incredibly emotionally detached from humans, as we have a Grun and a Thicreen. My character was really hurt and mad, so she didn't talk about it. She occasionally pretended to not remember it at all. This was faulty on my part. I did reveal in a later session how my character actually feels, which is that she is really hurt by it, and the 3 of us have all been going on depth about how we're nervous about our party changing. She was not there for these sessions though. Okay, so from the sounds of it here, PvP was not discussed, and then you all went and killed her character, and she is a brand new person to this table. So yeah, I do not blame her for missing out on those sessions. There is likely some very hurt feelings here. It also sounds like we have some more lore reasons for why characters are acting a certain way due to their species. Perhaps it would be good to have an above table conversation earlier when someone is there as to why your character doesn't mourn the way people normally do or why your character is acting out of line. It does not hurt to have above table conversations because not everybody is aware of how the lore works in the world. And sometimes people play their characters differently than how a character is written. So yes, in the monster manual or whatever, the Grun might be written to be detached when they see death or whatever and not act a certain way, but a character coming fresh into a world may not realize that. They might just think, oh, that's somebody playing adorable little frog guy, and then they're super confused when the frog guy acts a certain way and there's no explanation for it. My boyfriend is heartbroken and discouraged. We met through D&D, and one of the reasons I began to fall for him was because I saw how much work he was putting into everything. We're both creative writing majors, and he has this entire world built out so well. He writes materials for sessions in advance, but he doesn't railroad, just a simple, you get there when you get there. He spends hours on notes beforehand, then after each session he spends another couple of hours on notes going over what had happened. When a big boss battle for our characters are coming up, he spends over a month building a 3D map for us. Like many DMs, he pours his heart and soul into this world. I can understand feeling discouraged, but also it sounds like the table did not talk about what can and cannot be done in the game. The DM then allowed a PC to be made that would betray the party. Then the party killed that PC who belonged to a brand new table member. So yeah, I understand that person not wanting to come to games anymore. You put work into a character and the party turns around and then kills that character. I'm sure they were hoping for maybe some redemption angle or something like that with the party, but that obviously never friggin' happened. He kept checking in with the girl when she didn't show up, asking if it was about D&D. She said yes, so he would ask her to explain, or he would tell her that he would change whatever to make her more comfortable. She would then leave him on red. He's incredibly frustrated as, in his own words, he needs to take responsibility as a DM. Though he did not directly cause Jack's actions, he feels that he needs to take responsibility for the actions of both players and figure out how to prevent these problems in the future. He's heartbroken, and I encouraged him to cancel this week's session, so we're taking a break. He's honestly the best DM I've ever played with. Fortunately, our mutual friend has agreed to join our campaign, so she'll be playing with us. I know this might not be the most satisfying ending, but we're working with what we got. In the end, I just hope things go better in the future. Again, talk things out. Have session zeros when you broach what will and will not be broachable at the table. If things are getting spicy for somebody's first few sessions, stop and have above table conversations. If this person was making a choice in game to betray the party, talk about it above table. If their backstory or reason for being in the party was to betray the party, maybe we don't allow it. Or we talk it out above table when the table is trying to murder the another PC. I am willing to bet the new girl doesn't feel valid or cared about because she joins a brand new table and then the party gains up on her and kills her character. Or perhaps the players at this table acted a certain way we aren't being told about. When a player comes to you asking to have their PC be reborn post-death, ask what way they would prefer. You know, push like corpse or newly created body and say like, hey, as a DM, I want to help push the story in that direction that you're more wanting. So what are you thinking? That way Jack can then out their weird, I want to get our female party member pregnant idea, and then it's out in the open. A lot of this sounds like initial conversations were not had to a great enough detail, or we aren't stopping to ask what the hell is going on when potentially game-changing decisions that could cause friction are being made. And reviewing this kind of like for a second time here, there's a chance the girl they're talking about is the one who in the beginning of the story they said left the table, and this is them, like the last few sessions of them not showing up. In which case, I mean, part of my reaction to this is still kind of the same. If they're going to betray the table and things are going to happen, and you're hitting a point where you're like, and PvP is not agreed on, it does not hurt as a DM to stop everything and go, hey, let's hold up a second. There are some decisions being made here. They're going to greatly influence this table. And we might have some permanent stuff that could really affect characters happen here. Let's make sure we're talking about everything that's happening and making sure we're all okay with it. It doesn't hurt to be above table. Yes, it's meta. Yes, it can kind of ruin a story moment. But sometimes it's better to dampen a story moment's like shock value and like how raw and emotional it can be to make sure everybody is okay as players. Because the last thing you want is somebody to go, I was aiming for maybe a redemption angle here to like with the party after I betrayed them, and the rest of the party's like, nah, we going PvP, son. That allows, like, if there's no PvP allowed, the DM can go, wait. You are not killing them. At worst, you can just kick them from the party or something. As opposed to then we like let this whole thing unravel, you know, a player who's been at this table is dead and now they're not showing up anymore kind of thing happens. So it doesn't hurt to stop and talk it out. Either way it is interpreted though here, because I'm not 100% sure based on how they wrote it. Either make sure you're working it out with new players and you're letting them know what the fuck they're getting into, or make sure that if you're going to have these weird emotional moments happen and you're broaching topics and have shit happen that you didn't agree on, like PvP necessarily, that everybody knows what's happening and is on board with it. Alrighty guys, that is going to be it for me today. Thank you guys all for hanging out. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like. Subscribe if you're not yet. I stream on Twitch. Links are in the description for that if you're interested. Otherwise, I would love to know your thoughts on either the stories we talked about, or if you want to tell me how your TTRPG playtime's going during this week, I'd love to hear about that too, down in those comments. I'll see you guys on the next one, though. Bye, everybody.